icon for the last generation.
On MadeInMontreal.com, the Republican candidate for governor.
Have sexual relations with
I realize that this is something he is
We're not going to be able to solve our problems if we get distracted by sideshows and carnival barkers.
One Republican, one Democrat, and you discuss the issues that matter in today's local, state, national, and global politics. Hosted by Steve Hickson with co-hosts John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey. This is Backfire.
And good morning. This is Steve Hickson with Backfire. Good morning, John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey.
Good morning.
Hey. Boy, I tell you what, did you have a big smile? You stayed up late last night, didn't you, John?
I always stay up late, but I did have things to do last night.
Did you stay up late last night, too?
About the same time as usual.
Did you
stay up late?
Did you watch the speech last night by our president?
Absolutely.
All right. Can we talk about that then? What was your opinion of the speech last night? Tell me what you got from it.
Well, this president's going to get credit for staying on script. He didn't go off the script. I think that's a positive for him.
Can we say good things then?
I think a lot of conservatives this morning are very happy that happened. It was not a speech necessarily intended for the really conservative wing of his party, I didn't think, because there was a lot of stuff in it that I thought was directed toward more what I would call the center-red people. His immigration deal that he suggested wouldn't make the folks on the right really, really happy, I wouldn't think. There was his curious statement that he wants to explore prison reform. I thought that was an unusual thing for him to throw in. So I didn't get the impression.
Was it a good thing?
Well, I don't know what the proposal is. He didn't say.
Well, that he was even wanting to.
Sure. That's fine. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. So, as State of the Union addresses go, we've had this discussion before. This is not really directed to Donald Trump, as to all the presidents, at least going back to Reagan. I do not like when they parade those folks out and use them for political purposes. They're heartwarming stories. They're moving, and I don't mean in any way to insult those folks. I just feel like they're being used somewhat, and all the presidents have done it. It's not just Donald Trump. I just personally don't like it very much.
I can understand what he's talking about. The only counterbalance that I would give is I would assume that all of those people understand that they're being used for a purpose, and perhaps they feel impassionate enough about it that they want to be used if it furthers what they believe.
Maybe. Now
that those two girls that were murdered and those families that were sitting there and the warm beers, those were some of the most heart-wrenching scenes. I mean, you could just tell that those people were really suffering.
I absolutely agree with that. I'm not even remotely suggesting.
No. I'm not arguing. It's interesting to hear Franklin say what he just said, because I tended to agree that the speech, I felt like he did reach out, certainly not to the far left, but he certainly reached out to the middle. And on immigration, he actually did reach out to the far left. But what was interesting is Juan Williams and some of the people I watched commentary actually said the opposite of what Franklin said, that it was a hard right speech and had no outreach. I think that tells you how far the left has shifted a lot of the debate in this.
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting. The reach out.
The immigration y'all are screwed on. And he did. I think he did a really good job of this. And I read a lot of people that were hoping he before the speech that he did do this. That immigration offer that he gave, and Franklin's right, it's going to make a lot of people on the right upset, and they are. Mm-hmm. But that is probably one of the biggest outreaches and biggest flexes that any president has offered on the immigration deal in decades.
If the president sticks with that position, there's easily a majority for that deal.
Well, there was a majority on Monday.
Hold on. That does not mean that will come up for a vote in the House.
I was going to say, well, that's not the House. The problem is, on Monday, for example, there was a majority in favor of the pain-capable child bill. and the minority Democrat Party blocked it through, once again, the filibuster rules. So there's a majority for a lot of things, but the obstructionist Democrats won't allow it to be voted on.
Let me say this: rather than a majority, I would bet you that there's 60%.
Oh, actually,
in the
I
House,
the poll. Well,
in the House that would vote for that.
Well, do you think it's time that some of the Democrats switch over and let's try to move on as a country and try to do some positive things? Well, I mean, let's vote on this
The Black
Dreamers Act.
Caucus last night would
As I said,
applaud.
I think the Democrats, there's a deal along the lines of what the president said that you'll get the Democrats to sign on to.
I don't think so. Here's your problem with that.
I don't think it will ever come up for a vote in the House.
But here's the problem with that, Franklin. He made an offer that is bad enough from our standpoint to make a lot of people on the right upset at him pretty significantly. And what was his offer back from the Democrats? They called him a white supremacist. They actually called the offer he made a blueprint for white supremacy.
I just said, and I'm being no, hold on. I'm being explicit about what I'm predicting here. All right?
Mm-hmm.
That deal can be had in the United States Senate.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Hold on.
Let's work towards that.
But the president's problem with making that deal is not going to be the Democrats.
Actually,
it's going to be the Republicans on the far right
the
in the
Freedom
House.
Caucus has already said that if they get the
Democrats got to vote,
but
Franklin. Everybody has to vote. Democrats and Republicans have to vote
No, here's
how
the
they
problem.
feel.
The Speaker of the House is going to have to commit that he'll bring it to the floor for a vote.
He will.
I have seen no evidence to support
Franklin,
that statement.
the House Freedom Caucus has already said they're not happy with the 1.8 number, which, by the way, is 3 times
what they're not
what
happy
Obama
with
had.
is the citizenship offer.
Right, I understand, which is great, much more liberal offer.
I just told you that deal is there to be
But
made.
my point is, Nancy Pelosi called it a white supremacist.
I don't care what any of
blueprint.
them say.
She's the leader of your party.
I am telling you that deal can pass if it comes up for a vote.
Do you think Nancy Pelosi and Schumer are the biggest problem?
No.
Why
you
did she
don't?
call that a white supremacist?
Let's
All right, let me
hold on.
calling it that?
This is almost exactly what the deal was that Schumer came out of the White House meeting and said he had reached with the president, and 8 hours later the president's own advisors came out and said, no, it's not.
Schumer didn't offer any money
Yeah, he did.
to go with it.
He said
No, he didn't.
that he offered
didn't.
the president the exact number
He
he
lied.
asked for.
He lied.
Well, you weren't there,
No, it's not appropriate.
and the president didn't come out and say that.
All right, let's try to be positive this morning, because I'm
I
a
just
dreamer.
did.
I'm
All
a
right,
dreamer.
Franklin,
I'm a
tell
dreamer
me why
myself.
the Black Caucus refused to clap for the fact, and this was just a fact. He said black unemployment has hit the lowest rate ever recorded, and the Black Caucus and the Democrat side of the
Sit on their
aisle
hands.
would not clap for that.
I think they weren't clapping because they didn't think Donald Trump had done anything to cause that.
He didn't say it. Actually, all he said was black unemployment has reached a recorded historic low.
Now, John, you and I both know there's nothing said in a State of
Let
the
me
Union
put it to you
address by
this way.
any
Let me-
president that isn't
All
for
right,
the
but let me
purpose
put
of
it to you
taking
this
credit
way,
for it.
Franklin. When Barack Obama
I
gave his
just
speech,
said
and
any president.
I know, but wait a minute. When he gave his speech, and he said, "We have successfully hunted down and killed Osama bin Laden," I applauded him. I clapped for him. I bought a T-shirt
He didn't do
that
anything.
bragged on the fact that we did that. Now, I didn't like Obama, never voted for him. I think he did tremendous damage to the country, but he was right there, and I'm a big enough person to clap for him. The Democrat Party last night, I think, in a way, I'm glad,
It's just
because I think
bitterness.
anybody
It's just
watching
bitterness.
it saw that they are opposed to Trump just because he's Trump.
That is. What about the little boy that put the flags on the grave?
They didn't applaud for the little boy that put flags out.
Well, I think the coverage I saw, they applauded for that.
Franklin, what do we got to do to move on as a country and not as a party?
I think that both parties in this case, this is an equal criticism. We've talked about it a little bit on here.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many people on the far extremes of the two parties who get elected into office, and so that the middle ground where deals can be made doesn't have enough of a voice. That's
let
my
me
answer. No, so let me give you an example now.
Okay.
And this is really interesting. I think, and I'm not going to stick to this number because I'm not positive about it, but I think it was right. I think I saw that there were 12 female veterans running as Democrats this time. I would imagine that those folks are going to be pro-military. Wouldn't you imagine?
I hope so.
Okay.
I don't know if their party will allow them to.
What did I just say, John? No, I just said extremes on both parties. I think the Freedom Caucus can go straight to Hades and the country will be better off personally, but I don't think they should have as big a voice as they do.
But here's the problem.
I don't think it's good for the country.
Franklin, here's
Let
your
me
problem.
finish.
Right.
Let him finish.
I'm just telling you, there aren't enough centrists in our Congress to get things done.
So in other words,
and I didn't say
let me
just
see-
Republicans. I said
Let
Democrats
me
too.
see if I understand what you're saying. You're saying that Democrats in the middle, not the liberals, but the Democrats in the middle, and the Republicans closer to the middle, not the hardcore right Republicans, there's not enough of them to get together to make things happen. Is that what I heard you say?
Pretty close. Pretty close to that.
So-
Well, look, here's the way it used to be. Here's the way it used to be. You used to have a lot of fiscally conservative Democrats who were pro-military, and you used to have a lot of socially progressive Republicans. And those people had a common interest in compromising with each other and making deals.
Well-
We have too many people on the left and the right who've gone to the polls, and they're incapable of
I
making
don't
deals with each
disagree,
other.
but let me add a little nuance to it. Here's one problem for that argument, Franklin. The Freedom Caucus is not a leadership group in the House. They're a group. There are all kinds of caucuses, and they're a group. Your problem is
What they
the
have
radical statements that I just gave you that were said a white supremacist were the Democratic leadership. It was Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer who said that.
Well, it's the burden's on the president to establish what
The
his
president's
views
made
are.
an
All right,
offer.
we got a call. Let's take a call here real quick. Go ahead, caller.
Steve,
Hey,
Tom Cassidy here. How are you?
good, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing great, Hey, y'all talked about the president's address last night.
We're talking about it right now.
Okay, well, I'm just kind of disappointed in the core values of our America. You know, when you start talking about standing for the flag and God we trust and national anthem, and the Democratic Party just sat there. I'm very disappointed in that.
That's exactly what we're talking about right now, Tom. But appreciate it.
All right.
No, wait a minute. You don't have to hang up yet. Let's have your input.
Our mic,
Go ahead.
our headphones were off.
Their headphones weren't working. Repeat what you just said.
Well, the American core values that we have, you know, like standing for the flag and respect the national anthem and God we trust. With all the Democrats sitting there, it was sad. It was sad to see that we can't come together, no matter who's speaking, that we all agree on those things, on those core values.
Hey, Tom, I have to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Are you a dreamer?
I think he said last night that everybody's a dreamer.
That's right.
I dream to grow my business every year, and I'm sure that Mr. Jones is the same way. He's dreaming how he can grow his business.
Well, I like that phrase. I'm a dreamer. I'm going to start using it more
we're
often.
all dreamers.
We're all dreamers.
Great phrase.
I'm dreaming that the Republicans and the Democrats can come together and get something accomplished as American citizens this year. Did you ever think our country would be so divided?
I can't believe it, Steve. It's sad. It's really sad to see that we're not putting the people first. The people up there that are supposed to be doing the job and working towards and making our country safe and providing jobs, you know, unemployment rate and everything. It's just sad how selfish people can be at times. So,
Well, I think the Democratic Party's leadership has really hurt them.
yeah.
Nancy and Schumer. I believe that they've really done a lot to hurt the party. And, you know, the party's really split between the liberal and the Democrats. And
It's not liberal anymore. It's socialist.
socialist, whatever.
Stop.
Wait a minute.
Well, Johnny goes back to the have and have not. That's what they try to stand on. That have you have not. We want you to share what they have. So that's part of it.
All right, buddy. Come on by. Hey, come on down and join in with us.
That's okay. Y'all do a great job. Keep up the good work.
See you. Thanks. Anyway, this immigration bill, are we going to get it done? Is it going to happen?
If the president sticks with his position last night,
Well, he said it. There's no reason to change it.
I predict it will pass the Senate, and if it is allowed to come to the floor for a vote, it will pass the House.
All right,
that's my prediction.
Let me throw a little cold water on this. One of the problems is the fact that he includes chain migration in this. Because chain migration right now, especially to the left side of the Democratic Party, is a deal breaker. Because let me read you. This is a quote.
I'm tired of chain migration.
This is a quote from Julian Castro, Democrat House leader, or a leader, not the leader. Now, this is a quote. The Hispanic vote in Texas will continue to increase. By 2024, Democrats can win Texas, Arizona, and Florida, a big blue wall of 78 electoral votes. It's clear that Democrats see more immigration as beneficial to their electoral fortunes, and they want no limits on it. That's the problem here. The Democrats, it's not about migration. It's not about fairness. It's about politics.
Said, contrary to John's position, if it comes to a vote, it will pass. The person who will decide if it comes to the vote or not is Paul Ryan. Last time I checked, he was a Republican.
Actually, the person
if he lets it come to a vote, it passes.
Paul Ryan has let almost everything come to a vote, and the Democrats in the Senate have blocked it through the cloture votes.
And I just told you it will pass in
All
the
right.
Senate.
All right. Now then, let me say something. If it's going through and the Democrats block this, will you stand up for the Republican side of it?
What do you mean?
In other words, if the Democrats...
I'll say we made a compromise and got a deal. That's what we need to do.
Okay.
Now, hold on. Let's be clear about this, all right? Mm-hmm. When Schumer came out and said, I think the president and I have a deal, Paul Ryan said, and I quote, well, we're not bound by that deal. Well, technically he's true, but that's the issue. If he won't bring it up to a vote, it can't pass.
He didn't say he wouldn't bring it up
yes,
to a vote.
He
said they would have to have input. We have a bicameral system. We have a House and a Senate. And the Senate leader, actually the Senate minority leader, and the president, whether I agree with the deal or not, don't get to make the deals.
Here's the problem with this. The Republicans control the House. All right? If they bring it up for a vote, they're free to vote no. But the problem is, and you know it's true, is that if it comes up for a vote, enough Republicans will vote for it that it would pass. And Paul Ryan, thus far, has indicated he's not going to allow that to happen.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said we're not bound by it.
You have yet to say
what
that
they say on CNN.
Well, I think you're wrong. I'll say it. I think you're wrong.
Tell me exactly what your prediction is.
I think my prediction is Paul Ryan will expect a bill to come through the regular process in the House, be debated in the committees, and be voted on before a deal is reached. That's his point. His point is the House has a say in this. That's all he was saying, Franklin. And matter of fact, whether he's for it or against it, or as the Speaker of the House, he should have said that. He should have said, hey, folks, by the way, there's a whole other section of the executive branch or the legislative branch that has to weigh in.
Sticking with my statement. It will pass the Senate.
Your opinion of the statement, Nancy Pelosi saying that this offer from the president was a Make America White Again offer. Tell me what your opinion is. That helpful?
No. Is it helpful?
Is that a
Probably not helpful.
Thing for
she ought to have her mouth washed out
Probably
with soap.
Not helpful.
Well, that's the leader of the House Democrats. So when you keep throwing Paul Ryan up here, all Paul Ryan said was there's a process to follow. Nancy Pelosi immediately, and by the way, if you looked at her last night, she looked like you had stuffed 1,000 cuckleburs up both.
Well, what she didn't do was stand up in the middle of the speech and yell, you lie at the president, did it?
Well, he didn't lie.
Oh, well. That's a different story altogether.
Did Obama lie when he was told that?
Yes, it turned out that Joe Wilson was actually right. Now, having said that, and I said this at the time, Wilson was wrong to do that.
Yeah.
It was the wrong thing to do. But he was right.
As I will point out again, if people want their protest to be that I don't stand up and clap, that's a lot more American than standing up and yelling, you lie.
Well, the president should try not to lie.
Well, really?
He lied.
I'm glad you've adopted that position, John.
Well, gee, Franklin, I don't know. You want to discuss the picture that just surfaced after 15 years of Obama standing smiling with Louis Farrakhan that they suppressed on purpose because they said it would damage his political
John, there
career?
is no president in American history that has told more falsehoods in a 12-month period than Donald Trump. I don't care. I don't care if you want to make that allegation, but I will expect you to make it across the board.
Can I say something about that? I'm so tired of hearing that. I bet you are.
No, I am. You should be tired of it.
The Democrats can't stop talking about Trump.
Why can't they?
Wait a minute. Why don't we talk about the taxes?
What about them?
Were they bad or good?
For some people, they're good.
Franklin, would that
I mean, why don't we
picture
talk
have
about
helped Obama or hurt Obama?
I guess it would have hurt him.
Let's see.
But what does that mean? Does that mean that they're good, they're best
the
buds?
media establishment. Actually, it probably does.
Where was this picture, John?
It was at a Black Caucus sponsored event, and the photographer who worked for the Black Caucus got a phone call, a panicked phone call, and he was told to make sure that picture stayed under wraps. And it stayed under wraps. He just released it last week.
Should the Democrats and the Liberal Party and the Republicans and the Americans put America first? Should we put America
those people
first?
aren't Americans?
Now, wait a minute.
Actually, if you're not a citizen, you're not an American.
Right. That's right.
You're
So
not.
the Democrats and the Liberal Party,
Well,
what does that mean?
They're not
Americans?
They're so anti-Trump, they're not even acting like they're an American anymore. I mean, it's just amazing to me the hurt and the harm that they are spreading.
Do you think that I am any more opposed to or was any more opposed to Barack Obama and the policies that he followed than the average person on the Women's March is, or the resistance people? Do you think I was as opposed to Obama and his policies as they are?
I'm going to say yes.
I probably was. I probably was. I never protested in the streets. I wouldn't have gone and tried to disrupt a speech of his.
Republicans
I would never
don't do that.
have done the things that they're doing to this president.
Republicans don't do that kind of stuff. They respect America a little bit.
You know, I'll give you a good example, Franklin. Do you know, and I don't want to say the word on the bill, and this is, for example, Dick Durbin. And the whole 2 weeks we spent on the fact that the president, in a private meeting, called countries around the world S-hole countries. Okay? Now, I don't know whether he said S-hole or S-house. You know, they get into this parsing of words. But the point is, that was a private meeting. Do you think that the Civil Rights Act...
there's anything that a president can say,
do
or
you
these people
think
can
that the
say in a
Civil
private
Rights
meeting that
Act...
makes it okay?
Do you think the Civil Rights Act was a good thing?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what Lyndon Johnson referred to it as in private meetings on a regular basis?
He used all sorts of
Do
racial
you know
slurs.
what he called it?
I'm sure I could guess.
He called it the N-word bill.
Yeah.
Regularly.
Yes.
Now, do you think he said that in front of Republicans and Democrats in private?
No, John, but I think...
Yes, he said it all the time in front of them. Now, my
sorry,
point
I'm
is,
sorry.
Dick Durbin walked out of that meeting, and for purely partisan reasons. Now, I'm not defending the president saying what he said, but my point is that was a private meeting. We just had 2 weeks of national discord. We tore down race relations even further because Dick Durbin decided to come out and use something that was said in a private meeting for political gain. That is the problem with America, and it's the problem with the left right now. It's win at all cost.
I don't know, John, but maybe I have a different view. I think in 2018, if you're still using those words, it actually reflects your views.
You don't think it reflected? You don't think it reflected Lyndon Johnson's views?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it reflected his too. But guess what?
Well, let me ask
guess
you a
what?
question.
That president actually tried to do something to better people.
With the Republicans, by the way. It was the Republican Party that was pushing that.
And you know what he did in the process? He knew exactly what he was doing. He was handing the South to the Republican Party.
Actually,
and he was right about that.
You know, I didn't really want to go there. If you really want to go there, there's a audio tape of him saying, if I can get this passed, I'll have the N-words voting Democrat for the next 50 years. That was his actual intention.
There's actually a statement where he says, I just handed the South to the Republican Party, too.
Yes.
but he puts the country and people's welfare ahead of
You're
party.
right. That's my point. Dick Durbin didn't. He
I don't think that's true at all.
tore the process down for political purposes.
When do you think that we'll ever get along? I remember growing up, the Democrats and the Republicans would have a few words every now and then, but when it came down to vote for something that was good for America, they came together as one.
Because most of the people who were elected in those ages were centrists. And use our state as a perfect example. What used to be the case here. It's perfectly fine that Tennessee was 55% Republican. But when it started voting 65% Republican, we don't get centrists anymore because there's no reason to listen to the other side or to look for common ground.
So we got to listen to Harold Ford's out of Memphis and stuff like that?
Harold Ford would have to listen to you. And yes, you'd have to listen to him too.
Actually, Harold Ford never had to listen to anybody because he was going to get elected no matter what he did.
That's right. He had grave voters.
He's out selling votes and buying, voting dead people.
We had
and
tons,
stealing money right and left.
We
and he
had,
got reelected.
we had
every
tons
time.
of Republicans and Democrats elected in Tennessee historically, and they would all knew that the very next election that could flip. And for that reason, they had to work together to get things done. That doesn't mean you agreed all the time, but you had to do it. We don't have to do that when our districts are that safe and when the divide's that safe.
You think we ought to divide California up then?
What do you mean?
Well, the Californians lean one way, but there's a lot of Californians that would like to divide the state and put everything on the ocean on the liberal side.
I'm not just using the South as an example. I'm using the whole country as an example.
All right, Franklin, Monday we had a vote on this abortion bill. The most recent polling, 63% of Americans support a ban on abortion after the 20th week.
Yeah.
Only 3 Democrats voted for the ban.
Yeah.
Tell me how centrist that means the Democrat Party is. 63% of the population supports it.
It's not a centrist view. It's not a centrist view. That's my very point.
That's the Democrat Party for you.
On the other hand, there's bills coming through routinely get filed that make it clear that the objective is to do away with all abortion.
Franklin,
hold on, let me finish. I'm just saying everybody sees it in terms of the extremist view on both sides.
How centrist was the president's offer on immigration?
I think it will pass, John.
That's not what I asked you.
If it gets
That's
to
not
a
what I
vote.
asked you. How centrist was it?
Much more.
How did the Democrat leaders in the House and the Senate react to it?
I predict
they said
those
it's
people
dead
will
on
vote for
arrival and that it was a white supremacist blueprint. That's how your party reacted.
I predict they will vote for it.
Well, I hope you're right, but my point is maybe y'all need to look at the leadership of your party because they sure as hell don't seem very centrist.
Okay.
Who is Joe Kennedy? Whose kid was he?
Does it matter?
Well, he made a speech last night. I mean,
think
he did
he's a grandson.
I find that a odd choice.
Well, I do too.
Especially in the current light.
Well, we should have had Hillary's daughter make a speech too, or they should. But
well, you don't have a family that has a longer history with disrespecting women than the Kennedys.
No.
Of course, the Grammys is able to put Bill Clinton's picture up and Hillary Clinton's up in the middle of a sex scandal where a woman was abused and Hillary protected her abuser, and they're still able to be tone deaf enough to put them on the TV. Her own campaign manager has come out and said she was wrong and protected the guy.
All right, let me change
Did you watch the Grammys, John?
Actually, I did.
I didn't.
I didn't either. I never watched that crap.
I flipped through, caught it probably about halfway through, and was so stunned by the politics on display.
Did you
that
see
I ended up
Hillary
watching
make?
the
Did
rest
you
of
see
it.
Hillary make her speech? Didn't she do something?
I did. As soon as they started that bit, I knew she'd be in it.
What was it she did?
And by the way, that's another really good. I'm glad you brought that up because the bit was reading from this book that even liberal publications have said is a piece of trash. But guess what? The newest thing that the writer of the book has done now, one of the most successful women in the country, Nikki Haley, he has implied on Bill Maher's show that she slept with Trump to get that appointment. So here, now, by the way, once again, Franklin, you want to talk about mainstream. Where is the women's movement and the Democrat Party defending
The
Nikki
author of
Haley?
this book got invited into the White House by Republicans.
I'm not disagreeing.
Okay?
I'm not disagreeing.
So let me just say, if y'all are that stupid, don't blame me for
of
it.
Nikki Haley?
Huh?
Where is the defense of Nikki Haley?
I've said I thought it was ridiculous.
We need you to be a spokesman for the Democratic Party.
Well, I tried that in 1994, and it didn't work.
Is that how far back that was?
Yes.
We've got to take
a long time ago.
We're going to have to take a break, but I want to say, in God we trust. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
And you're listening to WOOPLP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Need to do your taxes? Using your tax refund for your next vehicle? Buy Here, Pay Here USA has tax pros on site to prepare your taxes and provide you with a free tax refund estimate. Use your refund estimate as down payment on one of our vehicles, and we'll pay for your tax prep, up to $250. Why wait for your money? Our tax refund special makes it easy for you to sign and drive. Visit any of our 4 locations or buyherepayhereusa.com for details. You're going to want our sticker on your car.
Yeah, you looking for something sweet? I know you are. Bring your little sweet self to the Village Bake Shop. Around since 1961, there ain't a baked good in the galaxy. The Village Bake Shop can't whip up for you. So when you're ready to treat your mouth to a taste you won't soon forget, get over to the Village Bake Shop in the Village Green Town Center. Or give them a call at 476-5179. You dig?
Dr. Christopher Chase, with Associates in Plastic Surgery, now offers his patients the convenience of a Cleveland office at 2350 North Ocoee Street. Dr. Chase specializes for the ladies in breast augmentation, including lifts, reconstructions, and reductions. Also tummy tucks or mommy makeovers, and facial rejuvenation, including facelifts, eyelids, brows, nose, and he also offers Botox procedures. Check out Dr. Christopher Chase. He is certified by the American Board of Surgery, the American Board of Plastic Surgery. He's a member of the American Society of Plastic Surgeons and the American Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery. Check their website out at aprs.md. That's aprs.md. Call for your convenient appointment in Cleveland at 624-0021. 624-0021. 2350 North Ocoee. That's Dr. Christopher Chase.
No dealers allowed.
Jackson Catnapper, family owned and operated in Cleveland since 1933, offering the best with over 70 styles of recliners, sofas, electronic lift chairs, full living room packages. Call Mike now at 961-7239 because Jackson Catnapper now offers sales to the public
every Saturday. That's right, every Saturday.
From 8 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. Or call Mike at 961-7239. Or go see him
every Saturday
at 1911 King Edward Avenue, just across from the main plant. Jackson Catnapper, family owned and operated in Cleveland since 1933. 961-7239.
No dealers allowed.
If you need a little green, Lending Frog is making deals. He'll lend you cash on any kind of wheels. Borrow just a little, or you can borrow big. Lending Frog is a new financial gig. It's hip to hop into cash. LendingFrog.com is making a splash. Dig it, dig it. Dig it, dig it.
We're here at the Trane Heating and Air Conditioning Testing Facility to see how unstoppable their products really are.
Inside this climate chamber, it's raining incredibly hard on this Trane AC unit. Clearly, it's hard to stop the train.
Ready for a heating and air unit that's been tested in the harshest environments possible? Stop thinking about the other guys and get a Train. Call Mechanical Systems today to get your home on the road to comfort. 336-5739.
Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Rent to own. Hey, my Clevelanders, it's Fro. If you need to fill up some rooms in your home, but you don't have a lot of dough, go see my friends at Economy Rentals for a washer and dryer set for only $19.95 a week, or 2 rooms of furniture for your living room and bedroom for only $39.95 a week. Hey, 35 years in business, Economy Rentals is Cleveland's oldest family-owned rent-to-own store. Free delivery and setup. Economy Rentals. Rent-to-own? Make it easy to own. Inventory reduction sale. Hey, mention you heard it on Whoop and get 10% off all bedding. Economy Rentals. That's 901 Sahara Drive or call 472-6105. Visit them on the web at economyrentals.net. 901 Sahara Drive or 472-6105. Attention, Cleveland area creditors. Are you tired of dealing with debtors that owe you money? I'm Jeff Renfro, and I've owned and operated Financial Recovery, a debt recovery specialist here in my hometown of Cleveland for 18 years. We're a licensed and bonded Tennessee collection agency working for a wide variety of creditors from commercial, manufacturing, physicians, dentists, attorneys, small business owners to individuals. Look, any kind of business dealing with billing, charge accounts, or even return checks. I know your past due accounts are not a top priority for you, but they would be to me. Let me try to make it easy for you to make a change in the way you've been handling your accounts. There's no contract and no cost to you in most cases, as our fee of only 30% can be added to the balance owed to you. So, whether you have hundreds of accounts monthly and need help with your billing and collection, or you're just an individual and somebody owes you money, let me help you. Give me a call at 400-5376 and I'll come by and see you. That's 400-5376.
Financial Recovery, a licensed and bonded collection agency in Cleveland, Tennessee, 400-5376.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson on Whoop FM. Call 423-614-5553 to join in on the conversation. Now, back to Backfire.
All right, back to Backfire, where you fake news, local news, and real news. We have it all. Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning.
Good morning again, John.
Hey.
We talked about the...
Wait a minute, there is more. I just want a kind of cataclysmic decision. There is more doomsday fallout from the tax bill.
Okay.
ExxonMobil is apparently going to bring about $50 billion back into the economy and expand and hire a bunch more people. And Honeywell is going to bring $7 to $10 billion back in the next 2 years, all because of the tax bill. And I know that's, more bad news for Armageddon, as Nancy Pelosi called it.
Home Depot's giving $1,000 bonuses back to their hour.
But that's crumbs. $1,000 according to the Democrats is just crumbs, and it's not even worth talking about.
It's crumbs for all the folks who got layoff notices in the last few weeks. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
What did they get layoff notices from?
Well, let's see. Sam's indicated they were closing the same day they announced a bonus. They announced they were closing 63 Sam's Clubs nationwide, laying off something like 40,000 people.
You think they're closing Chattanooga's Sam's Club?
I don't know. I don't have any idea.
Huh?
I doubt it.
I don't know, but my point is saying...
That's business. That's just...
No, Franklin does have a point, because there are people right now who used to earn a living in the horse and buggy industry, and it is a damn shame that the horse and buggy industry had to close.
It's just like that carrier plant in Indiana.
Agree or disagree?
Took
Call
credit
and tell
for
us.
saving.
614-5555.
Franklin, 2 million jobs since he took office. 2 million new jobs. Some jobs are lost. You're right. People are in transition.
Fewer than the last year of the Obama administration.
Hey,
so what is your point?
Franklin, let me ask a question. Did the new tax bill that just passed, that everybody seems to be so positive on, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a lost opportunity in the short term. No, it is. Sorry. I'll just tell you exactly what I think. Okay? All right. We needed to do tax reform. There's no doubt. There's lots of tax cuts that we could have done.
And
do I think they should have been structured differently? Yes, I do. That's my thought.
Is it a pretty good start? Has it got our economy fired up right now?
I don't know how you would
the
make
Apple
that.
CEO, who was violently anti-Trump, came out and actually referenced that he was anti-Trump, but he said, I'm sorry, I have to admit that the new tax bill has allowed us to bring hundreds of billions of dollars back on shore and invest in America.
Listen. If they actually invest that money, I think that will be a good thing. If they just turn around and raise their dividends, I don't think it will help that much.
For example, the former chairman of the party, Wasserman Schultz, she said $1,000 was nothing. Well, a couple of years ago, when we were talking about changing that was going to amount to a $40 per paycheck increase, she talked about how big of an impact a $40 paycheck increase would be. But $1,000 now, because Trump did it, is pittance, is nothing.
As I just said, we will see how that shakes out. If you ask me, was it the best allocation of those tax cuts? I don't think so.
Is it a good thing?
Would you have called it Armageddon?
No, wait a minute. Is it a good thing for America right now?
Oh, I don't know yet. I don't know.
Do you read the newspaper?
Yeah, I do. Because I read both sides of it. Because every time I read a story about somebody giving some bonuses out or saying they're going to build something, I also see another story where somebody's shutting a plant down. All right? So those two things have to work together, and when you add them together, it may not be that good.
Let me say something.
We'll see.
All right, let's talk about Sam's.
I hope it turns out
I want to talk
be
about
great.
Sam's, okay?
Okay.
In business, you look at your bottom lines. You know this. And then you figure out what you need to keep and what you need to get rid of in a circumstance like that. I'd say Sam's had already figured this out. Walmart is doing a lot more of the selling that Sam's does now. I know Sam's is Walmart.
Say they're shifting.
They're shifting. And also, I say that they've got some markets that are weak, and they're closing those down because they're not as profitable as the other markets. That's just part of the nature of being in business. Now then, let's not take that one example and try to say that this tax deal is not helping.
It's, for example, they made a big deal out of Walmart saying that they were raising their average starting wages. Okay, great.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
Okay.
But what they don't report is 6 months earlier, their number one competitor did it first.
So what?
No. Did they raise it because of the tax cut? Or did they raise it because in order to compete, they had to do it?
You're right, Franklin, but the reason they can do it is because they're going to be more profitable. What kills me is your party is simply walking away from the capitalist model that has built the greatest country in the history of the world.
I'm asking for some honest assessment and analysis.
Well, fine.
And you seem to be incapable of it.
What does the Democrats offer?
Liberals have been educating in our public schools why 30% of them think socialism is a winning order when Venezuela is starving to death.
How about this one, John, since Republicans run Tennessee, last time I checked, how about this one?
Yeah, and we're one
They
of the best
just
states in the nation.
administered the citizenship exam to high school seniors in over 35,000 people in the country. Only students in one state was the average passage rate lower than it is for immigrants. Guess which one? Tennessee.
You know why? Because liberals still control the school systems.
Yeah.
Liberals control the education.
Which liberals control the Bradley County school system? Which ones are they?
Franklin,
identify them there, Joe McCarthy.
It's the curriculum, Franklin.
Tell me.
It's the curriculum and the books and what the teachers are allowed to do or not do.
Those things, John?
The liberals.
Really?
Mostly in California and Texas because they buy the biggest books. And so they determine what books are available.
You guys control the entire state. The idea that you would blame somebody else for what's going on
Franklin,
is absurd.
We do not have control over the way our schools are run anymore. That's why you're seeing more and more people homeschool, because they look at what's happening in the schools and they pull their kids out of it. And the reason that
Franklin, let me ask you something. If you've got if my kids are going to school, they're starting the first grade, second grade, whatever, and then all of a sudden right next to them is some kids that don't speak English. Does that hurt the system or help it?
It doesn't hurt it one bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it doesn't hurt one bit. Let's take a call. Go ahead, caller, because it doesn't hurt one bit.
Oh, I like to know where he got this idea that Tennessee on the citizenship exam tests lower than immigrants.
It was the only state in the whole country where the respondents finished lower on the passage rate than the immigrant average.
Where'd you get that stat?
Well, I'll pull it out and bring it to you.
How can I tell you why? Because it doesn't exist. My wife came here. You know what? They asked her 3 questions. Who's the president of the United States right now? Who's your governor? Who's your senator? That's all they asked her.
That's no longer the case.
Oh, no, that is the case, Franklin. That was just a few years ago. That is the case. You know what? They don't test it. I got a friend whose wife came in 30 years ago. You know what they asked 25 years ago? You know what they asked her? What plane did you come in on? That was her citizenship exam. They don't give a citizenship exam.
They do.
No, they don't.
Go to the official website of the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah. The website below.
Well, here's one.
Also run by Republicans, I might add. So
they gave my wife a little piece of paper to study off of, and I said, "Well, I'll have you passing that in flying colors. Don't worry about it." When she got in there, she was surprised. They didn't ask her anything. That's all they asked her. So you can't tell me they give them an exhaustive exam. They don't.
Well, here's my problem. I don't think any of us know enough about our history and our civics. I don't think we teach that, frankly.
I absolutely agree with that.
And then you know why? And you know one reason why they don't know nothing?
Because we're tearing down their monuments?
After I read the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers in their entirety, I figured out that 80% of the stuff that comes out of politicians and the media's mouth is garbage. They tell lies in the media, and that's one reason why people don't understand how our government functions. You're getting lied to by a lot of the politicians and the media.
Well, it's the same thing I mentioned with the picture of Obama and Farrakhan. The media actively suppressed that because they didn't want to damage him. Now, look, it is what it is, and the public had a right to know. And that's where we're really in danger, is when the media is actually in cahoots with one side or the other, and they're changing what they give us, what information we have. We're screwed.
The socialists are putting the money into it to make it go that way.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And he can say all he wants to, but you can guarantee that 80% of the faculty and 80% of the school boards in the major cities in the United States are a bunch of socialists. You can guarantee communist socialists. You can guarantee that's why.
Well, I'll give you a really good example. First grade.
That's why 30% of our nation thinks communism is great.
The first grade, Franklin. Think about this, and I know this is going to sound like I'm really reaching here, but your child gets a list of supplies, and it says he's supposed to have 10 number 1 pencils. And you take him out, and you buy the pencils in the pencil box, and he's so excited because he's got his pencils. And when he walks into class, the first thing the teacher does is she says, all right, everybody bring your pencils up and put them in the pencil box. And then when you need a pencil, you come up and get a pencil out. And your little boy says, I don't want to put my pencils in the pencil box. These are my pencils. And she says, well, no, not everybody can buy their pencils. Well, you know what you just did? You took a first grader and you indoctrinated him into the basics of socialism.
I remember that.
All right. Hey, caller?
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Thanks for calling.
And I know you're rolling your eyes, Franklin, but the kid learns they're not my pencils. They're our pencils. And everybody puts in as they can, and they take out as they need, which is the basis of socialism and communism. That's Marxist theology right there. And you're indoctrinating our kids with that. When I was that age, I had a pencil box, and it was my pencil box, and they were my pencils.
And you sharpened them and kept them the way you wanted. All right. What's going on with the shocking surveillance abuse?
The what?
I think we'll know here in a few days.
No, we won't know. We're not going to know anything with this charade.
What do you mean?
No. Here's what they're doing.
Now, wait, I want to make sure this is the civil libertarian talking,
here's what they're doing.
But here's the Democrat talking, not the liberal.
Debate.
I just want to make sure.
We can debate that all you want. That's a different
You're right.
question.
This is the guy that doesn't want the government seizing property at all, right?
That's a completely different debate. And I'm happy to have that one.
Because it's not against Republicans.
You're just going to mix them up.
You don't think the surveillance is a shocking abuse?
You're not going to know. You know why?
Why?
Because they will not release the information that they claim supports the member.
Oh, the Democratic version. What was it?
No,
the Democratic.
No, you don't understand.
The Democratic version, right?
No.
I do understand.
No. Well, I'm not talking about the Democratic version.
Okay.
You understand? All the information that they claim they're basing these conclusions on is classified, and they're not going to release any of that.
If they did, what would you accuse them of? Compromising national security.
No, but
so in other words,
what
he's saying
so
is he wants the Republicans in a no-win situation.
Is it a shocking surveillance abuse?
We'll never know.
What do you mean you'll never know?
Because we'll never know if it's true or not.
I think we will know.
No, we won't.
I think we will. I think we will, frankly.
They won't show the FBI. They won't show the Justice Department.
Why are the FBI guys all upset right now?
Why are they so...
Because
by the way,
there's
Franklin,
the potential that you're revealing classified
which
information.
way does oversight
go?
Does the FBI have oversight over Congress, or does Congress have oversight over the FBI?
Congress has oversight over the FBI, but that doesn't mean you don't want the FBI to learn if they did something wrong. Although
they know they did something wrong. That's why they don't want this released.
It's being reported falsely already. We know that.
They're learning.
See, they're reporting that this was the new warrant they got in this case. That's not true. It was an extension of a warrant that they've been operating on for a year.
Well, you know what, Franklin? That's the fifth rationale that you liberals have given. It is. The New York Times and your side are now on their fifth rationale for how this got started.
That we now know.
This got started because Obama ran one of the most weaponized governments in the history of the country.
For God's sake.
He weaponized the IRS against his enemies. He makes Nixon look like a child.
Condoning treason right now and don't even know it.
Do you think Trump's just coming out with this because he's trying to upset this investigation? What, do you think this investigation is going to be harmed by it? The Russian investigation?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, the other Democrats think it's going against the Russian investigation.
There is actually a problem, Steve. There is a problem when somebody spends this much time trying to discredit investigators.
No evidence.
Usually it's a good sign of what's actually
going on. Unless the investigators are actually dishonest.
Are they crooked or not? Are they crooked or not?
How much time?
So say it, John. Just say it. Robert Mueller is a crook. Say it.
I don't think Mueller's a crook. I think James Comey was a crook. I think James Comey was a crook.
He's not running the investigation.
Hey, wait a minute. He's a liar. Is Comey a liar?
John thinks so.
No, wait a minute. No.
We'll find out. He's testifying under oath.
I'm asking you right now. Is Comey a liar?
Let me ask you a question, Steve.
All right.
Do you think the president's going to testify under oath?
I think if he did, it would be wrong because I think I'll tell you why. Because people sat on their damn hands last night and wouldn't even stand up when the American flag was being mentioned.
What?
And you trust those people to be fair with him?
They're not doing the investigation. Mueller's a Republican.
I'm talking about the Democratic Party.
I'm talking about the investigation. It's being run by a Republican.
Well, let me say something. Do you think there's anything that's gone wrong with the investigation so far?
Not that I've seen.
Not that you've seen. Oh, my gosh. You've got people who clearly were slow-walking investigations. You've got people with open biases.
Those are different investigations.
They're the same people.
No, they're not.
Actually, he was. He was on both of them, Franklin. He was originally on Mueller's team. Now, you're right. Mueller kicked him off.
John.
Frankly, he's
at some point,
I think McCabe has been in high authority on both investigations.
At some point, John, you have got to say, these people are professionals and they can do their jobs.
I used to think that.
You have no reason to think otherwise.
Let me tell you something. I'm an educated person. I'm not an idiot like you all like to portray any conservative. I've got a college degree or two, and I will tell you, I am at the point as an American citizen where I don't trust the government anymore.
That's because you've been listening to these wholesale attacks for too long.
That the IRS was used to punish conservative groups at Obama's
Why wasn't somebody being prosecuted?
Because there is a damn deep state that protects the government.
John, you are exactly what's wrong now.
Franklin?
You are what's wrong.
Are you denying that the IRS under Lois Lerner used the rules to punish people?
I am denying that a crime was committed, John.
We wouldn't
That's
know.
exactly.
Because
Yes,
they
we
let Lois
do.
Lerner off the hook. They didn't even interview her.
The Republicans ran Congress, John. What do you mean they didn't do
The Democrats were in control of the White House, which controls the Justice Department.
John, the Republicans
Holder
called
ran
her
one of
in
the
there. They made her testify.
Holder ran one of the most corrupt Justice Departments we have ever seen.
You have got to get off the Fox News teat and actually have some sense
You know what, Franklin?
of an open mind.
Richard Nixon would have skated through the rest of his presidency if your people had the same attitude about that as you do about...
There's a wonderful video of Richard Nixon coming out saying, I think a year of Watergate's enough. Time to end the investigation.
And you know who didn't end it? The Republicans, the Howard Bakers. Your side are the problem. When Obama was
It's the Republicans who want to end it.
When the IRS was abusing people, your people covered for them right and left.
John, you're in charge now. What's stopping them from investigating it?
Well, Frank,
How about the FBI text that
Fast and
disappeared?
Furious.
How about
they're back.
How
They
about
found them.
wait a minute. How long did it take us to find them?
A week.
Why were they hidden?
A week.
Why were they put?
They weren't hidden.
Where were they?
They had a glitch in their system that preserved them. But that didn't mean, as I said last week on here, before that came out, that doesn't mean they can't be found in a different way. And they were.
Well, what about the little couple that just hated Trump?
Guess what?
That were texting
Guess
back
what?
and forth.
In those texts, they also said that they should not be criticizing Trump. They also said...
But they did criticize him while they were
said
investigating.
publicly, nobody should be doing that.
Well, no, they were wanting to hide
What about last week's secret society, John, that was all this horrible conspiracy that we now know was a stupid joke in a text?
We don't know that.
We do.
We don't know that. We don't know whether it's a joke or not.
I don't have the decency to admit what Fox News and Sean Hannity had to admit.
Hey, Franklin, how about you admitting our tax program right now is a good thing?
What did I just say? It may turn out to be.
No,
yeah, I did.
Saying it is.
No, because you're so trapped in your ideology, you don't listen.
Is it a good
That
thing?
is what I said.
Is it a good thing?
I said it may turn out to be.
See, that's not the same thing.
Well, apparently you have a crystal ball that allow you to see what happens 5 years from now. I don't have that.
I'm just looking for right
But then
now.
I'm not a Republican.
Our country is so screwed up. Now is what I want to say.
That's the other thing that drives me crazy.
Obama,
Our country is not screwed
Obama
up.
ran this country in the ground the 8 years he was there. He absolutely
No,
ran
that
this
is
place
actually
in the
what's
ground.
wrong. That's what's wrong with the country right now.
No,
you actually believe that.
He did it.
You actually
did
believe
it,
that
Franklin.
the country's in the toilet.
He did it.
I think we're
you're
swirling.
basing that on hatred.
I think we're swirling. It's not hatred,
Yeah, it
Franklin.
is.
It's not hatred at all.
It is.
Look, Franklin.
Hatred is a liberal and a Democrat talking about Trump right
We
now.
know,
That's hatred.
Franklin, we know that the IRS targeted conservative groups.
No.
We know. Absolutely, we know
what
that.
we know is more
All right.
conservative.
You know what?
groups are
That's the end of the conversation. When you
That's not the end of my
It is.
conversation.
No,
John,
it is,
because here's
Franklin.
the thing,
because
John.
you don't care.
You
don't
run
care
the
that
country.
they weaponized the government.
You run the country.
Franklin.
If they committed a crime, prosecute
Let me
them.
tell you something. This
Why aren't
powerful,
they prosecuting them, John? Because there was no crime.
No, because there are people.
You have got to, at some point.
Can you quit yelling and let
no,
someone
I'm
talk?
not going to quit yelling because you won't listen otherwise.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The fact is,
I guess.
you run the government.
Really?
If there's a crime, prosecute them.
Well, thank
all these people you say did these heinous things, not one of them's being prosecuted.
You're right, and that's
when
my
you
point.
are in charge,
Franklin.
Because there was no crime.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Liberal, for educating
crime.
us ignorant savages who need government to tell us what to do, and we have to trust
John,
government above
I
all.
do sometimes feel like a missionary.
Of course you
bringing
do.
the word
That's
to
the
you.
problem with all of you liberals. You think you're smarter than everybody else, and anybody that disagrees with you, it's
Stop
stupid.
talking about what somebody else did. If there's a wrong
Well, the
there,
problem is,
fewer
Franklin,
people should go
to be
fix
perfectly honest,
Is
we
there-
probably need to run about half of the career people out of all of
That's
government.
because you believe that crap.
No, it's because they believe
You
that
believe
they're
that all those people
and they
are
don't
just
have
in
to
the
follow
tank.
the rules.
Franklin, do you think there's a swamp in Washington?
Sure.
Should we drain it?
Okay.
No, because they're members of SEIU and they have union rights.
That's not the swamp.
What is it?
The swamp are the extremists in Congress.
God, the swamp's the entrenched bureaucrats that nobody ever elected. It's the people that know they can't ever be fired. It's the people that know they can do exactly what Lois Lerner did and then retire to a multi-million-dollar home.
Hey, Franklin, I'm gonna throw something at you and see what your opinion is. I think we ought to give all politicians a big raise.
Whatever you want, you're in charge.
No, I think we ought to give them all a big raise and get rid of all lobbyists. That no one could be affected by money. In other words, if you're going to be a senator or congressman, here's your salary, and that's all you get. There's nothing coming from anywhere else.
Well, you'd have to do something about the campaign contribution issue to do that.
Everything.
Okay, I'm for that.
Huh?
I'll go along with that one.
What do you think?
I'm not for that.
How would you like to clean it up?
You're not going to get rid of money. There's a study.
Money.
And listen, the study came out.
the money!
They took monkeys, and they trained the monkeys to take rocks and to buy their food with rocks. So they monetized the rocks in the monkeys' minds, in culture.
Yeah.
Almost immediately, the monkeys started robbing each other for the rocks, and they started prostituting themselves for rocks. You're not going to get rid of money. Money's always going to be there. It's always going to be around. And it doesn't matter whether it's a printed bill or whether it's a watch that you give somebody.
It doesn't mean it can't be limited, however.
Well, I don't know, Franklin. We couldn't limit the IRS from abusing their own citizens.
Prosecute them, John.
We should have.
All right.
We should have. You can do it now. Do it.
I would love to.
If there's a crime, do it. This is my point. You're in charge. Stop telling me what somebody else did. Do it. If you think there's a crime there.
There's so much bureaucracy in government, the Democrats or the Republicans can't accomplish anything.
Really? There's not a Republican U.S. attorney out there who would take on this case if Jeff Sessions told him to.
As soon as the Republican U.S. attorney took on the case, your side, with all of the full force of the major media networks, would say that they were weaponizing government. The very thing we're fighting, the fact that government has been weaponized, if we tried to prosecute and wipe out that corruption, we would be accused of doing the very same thing.
Do you think the comment fake news has any meaning?
I think fake opinion has.
Okay. All right.
I think we have too many opinion shows.
We got one more caller. Let's take one last caller here. Go ahead, caller.
Yes. Good morning, gentlemen. I was sitting here listening, and it always goes back and forth. It's always the same blame game. It's your side, it's our side, it's their side. It's our. It's at what point do we come to the realization that they're pretty much both the same, and neither one of them want to do anything about, let's just say, the IRS abuser? Because if they did, when they're in power, they wouldn't have that ability to use that force of government against people. And both sides do it. To indicate in any way that either side doesn't do that, has some moral high ground, is ridiculous. And it's not just IRS; it's all agencies of government. That at the very top, at some point, we've got to realize that the top of both parties are part of the problem. You know what? Because they make it look like you have somebody to choose from, but in reality, because your outcome will always be the same.
Dan, I believe our system is so messed up. It's messed up all the way through both sides right now.
Well, that's because it's too big.
It is.
Government's always corrupt, and the bigger it gets, the more corrupt it gets.
Let's drain the swamp.
And but it's not just draining the swamp. We have to first recognize the problem, acknowledge the problem, without arguing amongst each other about good guy, bad guy, playing that game like two cops in an insert. That's not what we're dealing with. We're dealing against big government corruption all the way down, all the way to the local level. You know what? And if people perceive that this has only happened in Washington, D.C., you're deluding yourself. But as we spend time arguing this stupid party bull BS back and forth, it just allows us to go forward. you know, what we should do is pull together, say, here's where we agree. We'll push the social issues where we're not going to agree. But we got to get rid of corruption. What is the basis of corruption? Okay? Let's get down to that. Let's stop all this dumb stuff. You know, I mean, this is ridiculous. This argument will get you nowhere, but what it does is it facilitates the increase of this type of cronyism and corruption.
The problem is the corruption.
The middle class.
The problem is right now, he who is corrupt doesn't think he's corrupt, and his party backs him.
But you know what? Here's the thing, and I'm not going to argue that point, but what I'm going to say is this type of arguing back and forth facilitates that, because as you're arguing over these things, the real deals are going on. And we're not getting anywhere with this. Can't we see that for the last 40 years, the position that this has put us in?
Hey, we've got to go. We're running late, but let me ask you one last question.
Okay.
Should the Bradley County school system take on the lawsuit over prayer?
In my opinion, I want to leave this to them. But if they decide not to, and I believe that you know, there was an improper ruling locally, but I think, in my personal opinion, it's time to end it, because, you know what, we're not going to get anywhere. And, you know, I mean, unfortunately, it looks to me as if it's a done deal, and I don't...
Oh, you're talking about the tax lawsuit. I'm talking about
the prayer.
I'm
the
talking
letter
about the
from
prayer.
the atheists.
You know what? Here's the thing. First thing is, I think all this stuff should be local, and decisions should be made local. You know, but let's don't jack an issue up that may benefit somebody. You know, that would love to have this become a point of contention. Let's just say that. I'll just leave it at that, because I believe a lot of this is facilitated, and this is to help and benefit someone who always makes an issue of these things. But you know what? I will always support prayer in all situations.
In God we trust.
Amen, brother.
I'm a dreamer. Bye-bye. See you. All right, see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson, John Stanberry,